much of the academic decay at American universities stems, from its cult-like adherence to this binary system of oppressed versus oppressor. And it is the very foundation of communism, and it is what your kids are being indoctrinated into at many American universities. Joining us now with analysis is the author of the upcoming book, We've Got Issues, How You Can Stand Strong for Our Country's Soul and Sanity, the host of the brand new show, Dr. Phil Prime Time, the one and only, our good friend, Dr. Phil. You know what always defines I look at you, and what has always defined you to me is your willingness to just say it as it is and not worry about consequences. Here you're talking about genocide of Jews. And then, of course, we want to back off. But we apply one standard to different identity groups, but not to the Jewish people. Why? At Harvard and these other schools.
Sean, it's really disgusting, and it's so hypocritical to hear Harvard talking about, well, it's free speech. They wouldn't know free speech if it came up and bit them in the ass, because this is something that, as you pointed out, FIRE puts them 248 out of 248. They had to set up an entire new category for them. They were so abysmal at it. And it's not, they don't do free speech, they do their speech. And as I've had people on my show, Dr. Carol Hooven, who you alluded to a few minutes ago, that just went out and reported the science, and she was labeled as hate speech and drummed out of the university after 20-plus years. But yet you can talk about genocide of Jews. And, genocide's an interesting term. It doesn't sound real bad if you say it real fast, but the definition of it is to kill a large number of an ethnic group with the purpose of wiping them off the face of the earth and destroying their nation. And that's what we're talking about here. But there are even exceptions to free speech. I'm not a lawyer. I don't mean to brag, but I'm not. But there are exceptions to free speech. You cannot incite people to violence, which they're doing. You cannot target someone with specific threats, which they're doing. But still, we're not talking about speech here. We're talking about actions. They're blocking, impeding people's path to their classes. They're going in and disrupting their classes, going into the library and intimidating these students. And they're saying, oh, well, that just doesn't violate our policies. That's insane, Sean. You know it, and I know it. And so does anybody with common sense. This is a double standard, and Carolyn Gay is she's a symptom of the problem as well as a perpetrator of the problem. This cuts really deep into these Ivy League universities.
There was an interesting editorial in the New York Post yesterday, one down and hundreds to go, that it's not just MIT and UPenn and Harvard. This is now institutionalized, but it's institutionalized in lower grades as well, Dr. Phil. I don't know why all of a sudden we've gotten to a point where educators for kids in grammar school, even in high school, that they feel that their values are superior to parental values, and they feel at liberty to indoctrinate these children into their way of thinking rather than sticking to the basics, reading, writing, math, science, history, and computers. I don't know, call me old-fashioned, Dr. Phil, but I prefer they educate our kids, not indoctrinate them.
Well, Sean, over 30% of our fifth graders and eighth graders cannot read at the most basic level. 19% of our high school graduates can't read. They're getting passed so the schools can get paid, and yet they're wanting to talk about other things, and that is completely absurd. And what's happening here, and it's happening from the primary grades up through college, is you're right. They're running their own woke agendas, and that is absolutely unacceptable. And these people that are counseling these students on these issues, whether they're psychological or medical, don't have training in psychology. They don't have training in medicine. They don't have training in sociology. So they're not trained in any of the disciplines that would qualify them to counsel these students on these issues, and they're excluding the parents. They've known these kids sometimes for 2 or 3 weeks, and they exclude the parents completely. And they don't have the training to do this. They need to stick to what they're trained to do. And most of the teachers, Sean, would prefer to do that. This is getting jammed down their throats just like it is everybody else. the teachers are not the problem. It's the policymakers and the teachers' unions that are creating the problems.
All right, quick last question. I'm glad you're coming back on TV. Where can people find your new show?
Well, it's Merit Street Media, and we're going to be launching at the end of February. And I'm going to be asking you to be part of this. You and I have been friends for a long time, and we've got an awful lot of common thoughts. And I'm sure we'll be crossing paths as we go along here, Sean. And I appreciate you letting me speak on this today.
You got to aim higher. If I'm on the list in the beginning, you got to go a little bit higher. I'm sure you can get better people. But we're glad to have you back. It's been a while. We appreciate you, Dr. Phil. You're a good man, sir. God bless you. All right, appreciate it. Coming up, is Biden turning his back on Israel? You're not going to believe what he told Prime Minister Netanyahu. Plus, the FBI warning of a heightened threat to public safety this holiday season. I wonder if Joe's 8 million unvetted illegal immigrants might possibly be part of that cause. Straight ahead. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.